Hey, everybody. It is Thursday. It is sunny. And you know what that means? It is episode 104 of the Real Deal Pod with Allister and Geoff. That is the worst singing. I'm not going to sing any further because I'm a horrible singer. My sister got all of that talent. But yes, it is episode 104 of the Real Deal Pod with Allister and Geoff. It is I, Allister Carrington, your trusted realtor, alongside our main man, our mortgage guru, our trusted mortgage broker. He has a lot of nicknames. Geoff Lee. Whew, Geoff, buddy, between the singing and the talking, I'm out of breath. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. As you were doing that introduction, I was thinking to myself, we should get Bruce Buffner.
Ah, yeah.
It's time. I
Yeah.
think that would be I think you should use your magic over there to put that in there somehow, some way.
Yeah.
I think it would be pretty cool.
We got to
Or
reach
it'd
out
probably
to
get
some
annoying
contacts.
after a while, but you know what? The first time it would be pretty awesome.
Pretty neat. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. That'd be pretty good. You doing good, buddy?
Yeah, you know what? Doing better for sure.
That's good.
We're getting some great weather. Was out in the Okanagan last week to Sparkling Hills, and I had a Dominion Lending event out there, and rode in
How'd
a
you like it?
helicopter, hung out with some great Canadian brokers, and then had a wedding on Sunday. So
That's nice. How'd you like it up there?
it was filled. It
How'd you
was
like it up
filled.
there? Sparkling Hills. How'd you
In
like
the
it?
Okanagan, or
No, Sparkling Hills.
you know, um, Sparkling Hills was always amazing. It's probably our third stay there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? It's we had a great view of the lake. I spent some time in the saunas and the spas. You got that outdoor pool there. But I will say, as much as I love the vibe of Sparkling Hills,
Yeah.
their food is not very good, right?
Really?
So
So,
if you if you want a great uh, getaway with your loved one, um, a fantastic place, great vibes, great views, um, but the food and the bevies, cocktails, not a big fan. We went down, but you're only 2.5 kilometers away from Predator Ridge, and they have a terrific restaurant called The Ridge,
yeah.
and they got some of the best cocktails and some of the yummiest food. So, you're not too far away. But Sparkling Hills, I'll give it a 10 out of 10 for vibe and just that overall romantic feel. I'm gonna give it maybe I'm a little bit of a foodie. I'm gonna give it like a 4 out of 10 for food and cocktails.
Wow, that's fun. That's funny and that's sad all at the same time. So, my ex-wife, her and so I guess he would be my ex-brother-in-law, actually was the original executive chef for the for
Mm.
Sparkling Hills. Yeah, yeah. He's the one who built the original menu and all of that sort of stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been gone for of course many years. He has started out he has a restaurant out in Kelowna now. But
Okay.
yeah, but so I got to stay at Sparkling Hills before it even opened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So you,
it is a beautiful, beautiful place. I have not been back since I was married to my ex-wife, so that's many, many moons ago. But yes, a beautiful place, and it's sad to hear though that the food isn't as good. Ross was his name. Ross is amazing chef. So I can say that while Ross was the executive chef there, the food was raved about
yeah.
while he was there. So it's
And
sad to hear that the quality or
And,
taste.
and maybe, and to be quite honest, we were there only for breakfast, and I don't think they have an a la carte menu like per se, but yeah, no, not a fan of the food or cocktails by any means.
But great place nonetheless. So if you are up in the Okanagan, people go check it out. It is a great, and the Ridge is actually a great restaurant. Been there too. So the Ridge is an amazing restaurant. So there's great things to do around there. Awesome, buddy. Well, let's kick it. Let's get started. And let's, as we always do, start with the hottest segment in podcast. And that is...
Did you know?
That's right, baby. Did you know? So, Geoff, did you know that a new study just found that established immigrants, people who have lived in Canada at least 10 years, are wealthier than Canadian-born households at every income level?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A national data agency dug into the numbers, and the entire gap traces back to one thing. Can you guess what that one thing might be?
Hard work?
Nope. Real estate.
Yeah.
So here's the setup.
Well, in essence, that's hard work.
Well, yes.
You gotta work hard to buy real estate.
That's true. That's true. So here's the setup. Researchers split Canadian-born households and established immigrants into 4 brackets by wealth. At the very top, both groups land actually in almost the same place, close to 2.9 million. So that's not where the real estate story shows up. It shows up in how they each got there. So Canadian-born households in that top bracket hold far more in workplace pensions, about 69% more than established immigrants. Better jobs, better benefits. On paper, that should put them ahead. So how did established immigrants catch up without it? Home equity. And that's one of the things Geoff and I have talked about forever. They hold nearly 49% more equity in their primary home than Canadian-born households at that same level. A weaker job situation completely offset by a house. Now, here's a twist that makes this more than just a real estate story. It wasn't really about being an immigrant at all. The researchers found location explained about 4/5 of that entire gap. Established immigrants are simply more concentrated in Canada's priciest cities, Toronto and Vancouver among them. So this isn't about being a savvier investor. It's about buying in a market in an expensive market a decade or more ago and riding the run up. Background job and pension, none of that mattered as much of the address on the title. Now flip to the bottom bracket and the story gets a little more sobering. Canadian-born households there average about $40,000 in net worth, roughly 20% less than immigrants at that level. Again, mostly home equity. But here's the important part. That whole gap in real dollars is worth less than 6 months of average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment. So it doesn't read that as one group winning. Read it the way researchers did. This isn't really a wealth gap. It's evidence that the bottom half of the country, born here and newcomer alike, have been all kind of left behind together. So what's the takeaway? For years, we've talked about the housing market as an affordability for buyers today. This is a reminder that it's much more of a story about people getting in when they can afford to and where. The people who ended up ahead didn't necessarily pick a better career. They happened to own real estate, and they happened to buy it when they could afford it. And that advantage is one that compounds beautifully going up year over year. So whoever you are and wherever you're born, owning a home here still builds long-term wealth in a way paychecks really do. And that's the did you know?
Which goes back to CMHC study that we always refer to, and home ownership. You know what? I'm planning on just doing a webinar come September 15th.
Yeah.
On reverse mortgages, and it comes down to equity buildup and people being who have the homes and have built equity through time. And to your point, I'm not surprised. Like, again, foreigners, 10 years in, they do work very, very hard. But they also, again, I find that they have a better community in times as well, whereas they'll work together too, right? And as they're working together, like especially I think in the Indo-Canadian community, is that families will come together and then basically live together and then start to buy properties as one family leaves to the next. Like it's a whole different mindset to how we're raised here in Canada, right?
Right.
So
we were raised, and again, it kind of to your point, it shows we as Canadians, born and raised here, were raised, get that high paying job, right? Get that big job, get that big paycheck, right? Get that big pension, get a house, right? Just one. Live in it, enjoy it. If you're in Manitoba, if you're in the prairies, if you're in Winnipeg, like Manitoba, we were like it was a house and a cottage, and then that was it. Those were your two pieces of property that you really owned, nothing more, right? But whereas people coming and moving here, it was, to your point, live here, work together, right? Many families in one unit, and then branch off out of there into owning more than one home. Not a buildup of paychecks, but a buildup of properties, right? And again, that's what's pushed them ahead over time. And again, they didn't do it, and they didn't sit there and look at, what's the rate, right? What's the market doing? They looked at it from an affordability standpoint. Can we afford to do this? And what did it do? They were able to ride the wave up. Now, yes, the people ride the wave down, but as we've always talked, the wave rides up again, and that equity still remains. And that just, again, shows that it wasn't the bigger jobs that have created the wealth for Canadian for households. It has been the equity, and it's been the immigration. I don't like saying it's immigrants because we're going to get a whole lot of comments on this board after this pod with this kind of topic, but it just shows that their mentality coming into Canada, garnered them more wealth than Canadian born.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories is actually about two Canadians, Canadian born, Canadian bred, making marginal income, $60,000 a year, were at their places of employment for 20 plus years. So very consistent, steady people. Didn't live above their means and just started investing in rental properties. And again, to this day, and they didn't buy condos, they actually bought houses, right? So they would rent the top and they would rent the bottom. And again, they just saved. So they were hardworking people, as a lot of immigrants are. They're hardworking people. These folks were hardworking people. They didn't need to keep up with the Joneses. They had a goal in mind. They had two kids. And these guys' equity that they built into the houses they bought, to your point with your did you know, is they're multimillionaires now, right? Earning $120,000 of household income,
right?
And it's not because they were having their high paying jobs. They had very medium paying jobs, right? But they just knew how to spend money. They knew how to save money. They knew how to live within their means, like a lot of immigrants do when they come to Canada, because they don't have anything else, a lot. So they got to live within their means, and they're patient. Right? And again, we come back to that CMHC study that shows and proves that if you are a homeowner, you're 40 times richer, or as the new kids say, 40x richer
40x.
than if you're not a homeowner. So
and that's, again, just not to belabor it, but the other stat, like the stat in here that stood out to me, was that immigrants held 49% more equity in their primary home than Canadian born households at that same level. That's a lot of money. And again, it just shows why you should purchase a property, right? And just we complain that we can't keep up with the Joneses. Well, the only way to keep up with the Joneses is to be smart sometimes, like the Joneses, right?
Well, you know what? I was actually I did a Purview, which is an ID or not an idea, a property evaluator. It's called
Sure.
Purview. And I was actually looking at my house because I was like, I wonder what this thing is worth right now, right? I know what I bought it for. I wonder what it was worth. Back in 2011, so I live in a home that's, I guess, 15 years old. Back in 2011, it was purchased for $411,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what they're worth now, Geoff.
So 15 years later, like, I live in a small cottage out here in Cultus Lake. 15 years later, it was $856,000.
Yeah.
So it doubled its money in a 15-year time frame.
Yeah.
Which I started thinking about even today. It's like we are in such a great market today but people are to your point, there's so much living in fear of making a mistake. But if you take a look at a 10-year or a 15-year period, as far as what that money will do or what that home value will do, there's not a better investment.
It's
right.
Or
It's at least a top 3 investment of what somebody can do. I'm going to say even top 2.
Yeah.
Outside of investing in yourself. But that being said, it's just goes back to even in where we're at today.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, like, don't be fearful of making a mistake. Like, this is the time where you can actually, Warren Buffett, be greedy when people are fearful and be fearful when people are greedy. This is an environment that we are in. If you want to set yourself up, this is the time to do it, because I guarantee you in 10 to 15 years, what you're going to buy is going to be double.
Well, no, and that's absolutely true, because it's funny. So, Geoff, we're not moving in, by the way, but Michelle and I, we're considering, right, purchasing a secondary property out in Cultus, and we were looking around, and I was like, oh, this is where Geoff lives, right? And we were looking at the price point, and so I don't want people to be afraid of what Geoff just said. The fact that he bought in at 400 or whatever he bought in at, and now they're worth 850, because that's what they're worth right now. As Michelle said, holy cow, can we just move there now? Look at that value. And it's true. That is actually so much value, right now at that price point. If you can afford it, because it will appreciate in value. And your equity will rise, and it will add to your net worth in the end. So this is again why Geoff and I speak about it's not so much being a savvy investor. That's what part of the did you know was these immigrants that have been, these established immigrants that have been here for 10 years. They're not ahead because they're savvier investors. That's not what it is. They're not ahead because they had higher paying jobs with better pensions. No.
Well, I'm going to correct you. I think they are ahead because they're savvy investors. Because
yes, I know. No. I see what you're saying, but that's where it comes down to the end is they're ahead because they understood that purchasing property was the thing that was going to help you long term. So yes, in that term, yes, Geoff, they were savvier investors than we were as Canadian-born households. Absolutely, I agree. But that's what I'm saying is that anybody and everybody should know that, because this is a thing that we try to talk about and we try to educate people on.
And I actually, as you're talking about that, as far as like established immigrants or even any immigrant coming to a new country, they're not typically coming here with a lot.
Right.
Most of them, I believe, are not coming here. And I'm no immigration expert by any means.
Yeah.
But, it comes back to that fear of making a mistake. You imagine how much fear is moving your family from a country that you've been born and raised and your family's there, coming to a country where you don't have a lot. Like that, maybe they have more, like, because they're, that would be a fear of making a mistake, but they're here. So maybe they don't get impacted quite the same way as
we do. No,
Yeah.
and it's true, and I'll say that because I will say the one thing, if we just take out North America out of the conversation, the one thing that if you live in, like, if you go to any other country, the one thing that they will always celebrate is owning their own home.
Mm.
They in every country, the ability to have your own home is something massive. So
Yeah.
so when you get here, if you're an immigrant, that is your goal, to
Yeah.
have your own home. So the purchase of real estate, the purchase of property, is something that's ingrained into them. And that is, again, something that we've tried to do, but something that we just seem to be reluctant to believe.
And again, like as we're going down this rabbit hole,
Yeah.
you take a look at the new generation. They
Yeah.
they don't wanna own.
It's wild.
They want to rent,
Yeah.
right? There's a whole attitude with this new generation that renting is better than owning. And it's
Yeah.
just like, I don't know where you're getting this thing from, right? Like maybe you're at an age and you've lived in our environment right now where the market boomed and now is correcting. And I even saw it in my own place when I was looking at this property, about like, this thing fluctuated from 400 to 500 to 600, then to 700, then down to 500, and then in 3 months when that spike hit, it went back up to 700. Like,
Yeah.
700, like the guy made a ton of money in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
But again, that goes back to buying real estate at the right time and
Right.
selling them at the right time. And
Exactly.
again, I've always said your net worth is going to come from the properties that you own and sell over your lifetime. It is not going to come from your income. Your income gives you the opportunity to purchase real estate.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So
that's the did you know, buddy?
Well, that's enough. I think we might be done.
Nah, I think we got some time to get you done.
Well, you know what? Here we're going to transition into this now. This is I kind of labeled it the 10 biggest mistakes first-time home buyers are making in 2026. But
okay, to eliminate the FOMAM. Thank you, Geoff.
I'm going to generalize it that it's the 10 biggest mistakes that home buyers make all the time.
Okay.
Not in 2026. You're not a first-time home buyer, but I wanted to go, and we've gone through this in a whole bunch of different ways,
right.
But this is kind of almost a summary of what we've been talking about the last 3 to 4 pods, right? These are the 10 biggest mistakes that people are making when they're purchasing a home. Number 1, they are not getting pre-approved before they go house hunting, right?
Yeah.
And again, the reason why your people need to get pre-approved is because it is allowing you to understand what you can be pre-approved for or approved for. As you move forward with your realtor and you have that pre-approval letter, it's going to strengthen your offer to purchase, right?
Yeah.
And it's also going to allow you to understand what your budget is. Because many of us, and how many times have you heard this, Allister? I can afford it. Don't worry, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. But you may not be good, and maybe you can't afford it, or maybe you can afford it. But when you run the numbers by doing your due diligence, you're determining that, well, maybe I shouldn't be buying this much, even though that I can do it based on my pre-approval, right? Which leads to the second most common mistake, is that people will buy for their maximum approval. Right.
Yeah.
And without looking at their budget and without looking at their overall costs. Yeah. Right. And a lot of times too, is that people will buy at their maximum purchase price, but then that's all they have. They have no money to reinvest. They have no money that is saved up for unexpected expenses, right? They have no money to do anything because they are, I'm not even going to say house rich, but they are basically cash poor because they've over leveraged themselves based on their maximum approval, right? And a lot of us, I'm going to throw myself in this bucket, is we don't want to start off small and eventually get to where we need to be on solid ground. Like me, it's just like, no, I'm going to go. How much? That fine. We'll make it happen.
Let's just do it.
Let's just do it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But in my wisdom, I've learned that that isn't necessarily the right way of going about it. Right.
Yeah, and it's I like that you're mentioning that piece too, because I think it's one of the parts. I know it's a big part of my business when we're sitting down and having that first discussion and talking about what the process looks like in their approval, is setting that discussion to leave leeway in not overextending yourself and spending right up to your thing. And I always use COVID as an example. Right? Nobody expected COVID to come along, and then all of a sudden COVID comes along and people are losing their jobs, and they might have overextended themselves and not being able to afford the property that they live in. So so I like that's one of those things that we're trying to stop them from making that mistake, is overextending themselves on their home purchase, because everybody, like you said, wants the best and tries to afford the best. So
yeah. And then it's also the fear of missing out. That's
Yes.
a lot of what happened in COVID, right? Overspending, overpricing, all that stuff. The third thing that a lot of times we will do as a mistake is we'll budget beyond, or we don't budget beyond the down payment, right? A lot of times we forget about the property transfer tax.
Yeah.
So again, sometimes as a first-time homebuyer, you may be exempt from that. I think the threshold, what is it? The threshold as a first-time homebuyer, is it 525?
I think so. All right.
And then on a new build, I think it's $1 million plus that you're exempt as a first-time homebuyer.
Yeah.
With your property transfer tax. But the one thing that can often happen is that we don't budget beyond the down payment. We forget about the property transfer tax if it's applicable, right? We forget about strata fees if they're applicable, and that's in addition to your mortgage payment. And when it comes down to a down payment, we forget about our legal fees and the cost that's going to cost you, up to $2,000, and home inspections and moving costs. Like moving costs, if you're using a mover, like that's $10,000 to $15,000, depending on where you're going and the type of property that you have. Yeah. So a third common mistake is that people will not budget beyond their down payment.
Yeah.
Right.
The property transfer tax, by the way, exemption. First-time buyer is buying a home valued at $835 or less.
Oh, it's $835. Wow.
$835 or less, and a new built at 1.1.
Yeah. We were way off. We were way off.
I was way off on that. Yeah.
We'll jump in.
We'll leave that together.
We'll do that together.
Yeah.
So again, property transfer tax, folks, if you're a first-time home buyer, you are exempt if it's $835,000 or lower.
Yeah.
And regardless if you're a first-time home buyer or not, when you're purchasing a new build, I think it's 1.1 million or less.
Yeah.
Right. So again, a lot of
so sorry, I heard that on that 835. So property value must be 835 or less. Full exemption up to $500,000.
Yeah,
partial,
and then the sliding scale.
Yeah, and then partial up to 835. Just so we're all clear.
All right. Well, now I feel a little bit better that we were actually right.
Yes.
And just to clear the fog is that if you are a first-time home buyer, you are fully exempt up to a purchase of
$500,000.
And if that purchase price as a first-time home buyer goes below 835,
it's a partial.
There's what we would call a sliding scale.
A sliding scale,
right? And a sliding scale in simple language means 535, you're fully exempt. 635, you're paying the difference from that 535 to the 635. If it's 535 to 735, there's a sliding scale depending on what that purchase price is. And then as soon as it's 1 penny over 835, regardless if you're a first-time home buyer or not, you're paying full pop.
Right. And remember that the property must be used as your principal residence.
Yes, that's very, very important.
Yeah.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
The other thing that we do, not that I'm going to say first-time home buyers can make as a mistake, but not necessarily, like I said, not a first-time home buyer, any home buyer, is basically what we don't realize is that if you need to improve your credit score before applying or purchasing a home, because even small improvements with your credit can increase your borrowing options. Now, remember not to get this thing overcomplicated, but just to keep it level. Most traditional lenders, banks, credit unions, monoline lenders want to see a credit score of around 680. A lot of times we just did a file with the big six banks. This gentleman's credit score was 611. So I'm not saying you need a credit score of 680 to make it work, but that's kind of the number that we use as a number. But again, small improvements within your credit, or what you do with your credit, can make that 611 go up to 680 very, very quickly, right? And in this particular gentleman's case, it was just that he had high utilization on his credit card. So meaning he had a limit of 10,000, he had a balance of 9,000.
Yeah.
On his line of credit, he had a limit of 20,000, he had a balance of 19,000. So it wasn't that he wasn't making payments on time every time, but again, I don't know if you remember our previous spot, 35% of your balance to your limit impacts your credit score. So there's small things that people can do to improve their credit to make sure that they are going to get the sharpest rate and or the best lender, right?
Yeah.
Other thing that people may do is that all of a sudden they're in the process of buying a home, or they're in the process of thinking about buying a home, and all of a sudden what they go and do, they buy
a truck. Yeah.
Or a car, truck, vehicle, buy a vehicle.
Yeah.
And again, folks, remember, every $600 payment you have affects your borrowing power roughly by about 100,000, right? Or they'll go and switch jobs.
Yeah.
Right. Or again, a file that we worked on is that they've been with the same employer for 10 plus years, but now all of a sudden they went from a salaried position to a commission position.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, as many of you may remember, if you are working on commission, you need to be with that same employer for how many years, Allister? I'm going to throw you on the spot.
2 years. 2 years.
2 years with the same employer, right?
Yeah.
So if you've been working in a role for 10 years and all of a sudden now you have an opportunity to make more money based on a commission system, you need to work another 2 years on that pay structure for a lender to recognize your income, right? So again, avoid major financial changes.
Yeah.
I think we're in mistake number 6. We could be lower, a little bit higher, but mistake number 6 is never skip a home inspection.
Yeah, no, please. Jeez.
You are purchasing the biggest thing in your life.
Yep.
You're purchasing let's a $1.1 million home, or you're purchasing a $400,000 home, whatever that might look like. Do not skip a home inspection. Do not skip your $600 cost or $900 cost, whatever it's going to be, to avoid saving some money on the biggest decision of your life.
Exactly. And it can be arranged to be done. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, the market's so busy that it can't be done. I was having home inspections done during COVID when everything went into multiple offers.
Yeah. And not only that, is when you are buying, say, a pre-sale.
Yeah.
And you're thinking you're buying something that's brand new, that's going to be perfect because it's new. Some of the biggest things that are undiscovered are in pre-sales that are set to complete. And again, people are not doing a home inspection because it's brand new. They're thinking that it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but sometimes they're not, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mistake number 8, a low rate isn't everything. We talked about this last week. As far as the personalities of your mortgage, the only question, again, a lot of people will ask is, well, what is the rate? And they don't basically talk about the personality. And I want to basically drive it into people's heads. It's like marrying someone that is purely good looking and you don't know them, but they look darn good. And then you get to know them, and 3 years in, you're realizing again how batshit crazy they are, regardless of their looks, right?
Yeah.
So again, a mortgage can be really, really similar to that if the only question you're asking for the rate and you're not asking about the personality, right? So again, to kind of recap a little bit, 7 out of 10 mortgages or 6 out of 10 mortgages will break within the first 3 years for whatever reason. Again, you want to be able to port your mortgage. You want to be able to port your mortgage and borrow more money, or port your mortgage and borrow less money with marginal penalty. You want to have an understanding on how the penalties work and are calculated if you were to break them. And again, if you don't understand the personalities of a mortgage, that is a big, big mistake that a lot of people are doing. And this is actually a recap again of what we talked about last week, is we're not buying for the future, we're buying for today.
Now.
Right? Right. And this is again is why that statistic is so high with people breaking their mortgage within the first 3 years. A lot of times it's because they're upsizing. A lot of times it could be that their career is changing, right? It could be that their family is growing. And a lot of times it could be, what else? A life event, a divorce, a separation.
Divorce, yeah,
right?
Yeah. We always say it, death, divorce, and diapers, the 3 Ds.
Yeah. Death,
divorce, and diapers.
The 3 Ds. Okay, I'm going to remember that one. Mistake number 8. We're on mistake number 8. Using first-time homebuyer programs, or using programs that help you purchase. One of the best things that our government has done has been the introduction of the first-time home savings account. Right? It's one of the best homebuyer programs since the RSPs, as far as the utilization of that. So again, as a first-time homebuyer, you do have certain programs that can be utilized that basically are going to help you purchase something. And the utilization, such as the first-time home savings account, you want to make sure that you understand that. You want to make sure that you're utilizing that, and you're wanting to make sure, if you're a first-time home buyer, that you're moving forward in that direction, in addition to your RRSPs, right? And the 10th biggest mistake people do is they do not build their power team around them. And we talk about this probably every other pod. A power team is your right broker, or your right lending partner, your right realtor, your right lawyer, your right home inspector, your right accountant. Because when you have all these people in place and you know them, you like them, and you trust them, when you are moving forward with the biggest decision of your life, and you have that right team around you, it's going to make things so much easier. Allister, you played high level football. And I'm going to use the New York Rangers, and I'm going to circle back to you. New York Rangers in the day, they had Burray, they had basically everybody that was anybody. Right? But they were the worst team.
They could not win.
But they had all the talent, right? Whereas if you take a look at a lot of teams where they have the right chemistry in there, because they trust each other, they respect each other, they like each other, they go to war for each other, those are those championship teams, right? So building the right team, again, it isn't maybe the best mortgage broker, the best realtor, and the best lawyer, and the best home inspector. It's the right power team is the team that works hard for you, right?
And I don't want to interrupt, but it's because of something we talked about offline, and something that and this topic that you're talking about right now. When people are putting together your power teams, please truly interview. And when I say interview, also ask them what they're going to do for you, right? Because every realtor I've found working through a deal for one of my clients over the past couple of weeks does things a little bit differently. And some things I may feel should just be get out of bed stuff. That's what you do. Another person may not do it because that's not how their business runs. So for example, I'll just give an example. Like when my clients buy a condo, I'm the one that supplies the mortgage broker the documents that they need, the accepted offer, the Form B, the PDS title, whatever those documents might be, because I feel that my clients already have to hand in so much of their stuff, their taxes and all that sort of stuff, that there's things that fall apart. So I want to help control, right? I want to help it go through smoother. Whereas another realtor may not be the one to say, hey, here, I'll give in the accepted offer. I want my clients to give the accepted offer, and may say, no, that's your job to do. So interview them, see what the things they do for you and what they'll expect you to be doing, and if that jives for you, right? Because Geoff and I were talking about it offline, and I asked him a question where, I said, who gives you the accepted offer? Geoff said 50% of the time it's a 50-50. I actually assumed that it was something that every realtor should be doing, right? But it's different. So that's why I'm glad the power team, just understand the roles and what comes with it.
Yeah. And again, like I said, people always think their power team has to be the best of the best. It often shouldn't be. It should be the best of the best that works hard for you.
Sure. Yeah. That works the best of the best for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I want to wrap it up with this, as far as here is the checklist for when you are purchasing a home as a first-time home buyer or a 100th time home buyer. Always get pre-approved. Understand what your closing costs are, specifically the property transfer tax that goes above and beyond your down payment. Understand your credit score and what you can do to improve it if it need be. Keep your financials stable. Don't be going out and buying new things or changing jobs. Plan for future expenses, right? Understand that what we are in today, as far as an expense load, may look different tomorrow. Explore available homebuyer programs. Again, as a first-time homebuyer, you have your RRSP program, you have your first-time home savings account program. And again, always ask questions before signing anything. So many things now come to us through DocuSign or an e-signing platform. And again, I'm guilty of this myself at times. All we're doing is click, finished signing, and away you go. And at the end of the day, you really are not even too sure what you're signing onto. So again, use this checklist. If you want this checklist, reach out to us. We'll get it off to you. And that's what I got. That's
Love it, man. I love it, man. I love it. And I love that last part of read the documents. Read the documents, please. It's not you're not signing up for a cell phone, right? It's not one.
Well, even if you are signing a cell phone, those are the worst.
Those
are the worst contracts.
Yeah, I know. Those are the ones that I don't read. Full disclosure, I'm terrible. But when I send over like the contract to a client, I always make that joke saying, "You're not signing up for a cell phone here. Please read this. We're gonna go through this together." That's awesome.
I think because most people didn't read those documents for cell phones, they got heavily regulated.
You betcha.
There was such a sideshow of them, right? So
yeah, I agree. That's awesome, buddy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's use a different scenario. Don't. It's like those consent forms when you're watching a scary movie.
Yeah, there you go. You go.
Well, let's do those ones.
I like that one.
I don't know if there is such a thing, but let's go with that one.
Or jumping on a trampoline. Consent form for jumping on a trampoline.
Yeah, you're going to the bouncy castle, and you need to sign a waiver form before.
There you go. There you go. I like that one. I like that. Awesome.
All right, my man.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you everybody for listening today. We hope today has been again valuable for everybody. I really do think that there is a lot of positive nuggets that came out of this pod. So we hope we did our job for you guys today. Have an amazing weekend. It's going to be beautiful out there. So get out there and enjoy it. We can't wait to have you again here for next week, episode 105. We appreciate you guys continuing to listen. I just saw how many downloads that we've had all time. It's amazing, guys. I think we're at 8,000 downloads, and so for a podcast that's about mortgages and real estate, I'm pretty proud of that. So thank you guys for continuing to listen to us and laugh with us. Have an amazing weekend, and as we always say, most importantly, stay empowered, stay informed, and Geoff,
stay tuned.
That's right, baby. Stay tuned. Peace out.